Shabbat Shalom. This Shabbat, we read the Torah portion called Chaye Sarah, literally the life of Sarah. But in fact, the Torah portion opens up with the death of Sarah. The rabbis speculate in a midrash that it was perhaps because Sarah had learned of the attempt by Abraham to sacrifice their son. And this caused her great grief and heartache, and she died from the news. It's a wonderful midrash, but all we know is this portion opens up acknowledging that Sarah passed away. Sarah died. Abraham, seeking to honor his wife, looks for a burial place in which to bury his beloved Sarah. He purchases the cave of Machpelah from Ephron, and now Abraham can lay claim to the land because he paid a full price to acquire this burial site. The portion then goes on as Abraham considers that he is aging, getting older, and wants to find a bride for his wife Isaac. But he doesn't want to find a girl from the Canaanites that he's living amongst. Instead, he sends his servant Eliezer back to his homeland of Haran to find a wife from his people. So the picture you see behind me depicts exactly that. Eliezer, sitting on the ground, is looking at this girl who's pouring water, there you go, into the trough that Eliezer's camels might drink. So Eliezer had to find a test, had to find some kind of criteria in which to judge all these women he was going to meet. So he comes up with a plan. He says to himself, if I approach the well and women offer me a drink of water, well, whoever offers to also provide drink for my camels, that would be the woman I wish to pick. I would pick for Isaac. So he approaches this from a very logical standpoint of finding some criteria. I guess he could have looked for a woman who was decked out in jewels and fine clothes, someone who was rich, but instead he focuses upon his test and his criteria of finding the proper bride by looking for someone who exhibits the kind of kindness and consideration and compassion for his animals as much as they would for him. So this is not necessarily the smartest person or the wealthiest person. Eliezer intuits that any woman who is kind and compassionate towards animals certainly would be kind and considerate to Isaac. So kindness turns out to be our top criteria for choosing a significant other. How appropriate that this week, today, Friday, is International Kindness Day. And we are approaching also the festival of Thanksgiving when we give thanks for all the kindnesses and all the food and all that we have that's provided by God. But Judaism and our ancient rabbis tells us the world is sustained by three things: by Torah, by service to God, and by deeds of loving kindness. This is important. Perhaps Henry James said it best. Three things are important in life. The first is to be kind. The second is to be kind. And the third is to be kind. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel put it this way: when I was young, I admired clever people. Now that I am old, I admire kind people. I think I'm with Heschel. Now that I'm old, I admire kind people. Alan Morinus offers this example of kindness or chesed. He said, I once heard Rabbi Abraham Yaknis clarify the extent of the stretch that is necessary to have an action qualify as chesed. He said that if you're walking down the street and someone is walking beside you carrying a large box and you offer to help the person carry the box, that's not chesed. That's not kindness. You'd simply be a terrible person not to help someone in that situation. What counts as chesed or kindness is when you are walking the opposite way from someone carrying a burden and you turn around to help carry that load in the direction he or she is going. That is chesed. That's kindness. Our tradition goes as far as to suggest that a day in which we do not perform any acts of gemilut chasadim, deeds of loving kindness, should not be counted as a day in our lives. Our acts of loving kindness are on the list of mitzvot for which we live on the interest in this life And the principle is held in store for us in Olam Haba, the world to come. The beauty of kindness is that unlike tzedakah, which is financially based, we can all be on both the giving and receiving ends. So on this day, in which the whole world celebrates the principle of kindness, I pray that we all might be kind, especially given the tremendous difficulty and challenges of the past week with the election. It's time for kindness to prevail. It's time for human beings, regardless of party affiliation or whom you voted for, to reach out a hand in kindness to everyone. I pray that indeed kindness will help us all come together as a nation, as a people, as humanity. If we can show kindness to one another, I truly believe we will enjoy a world much more at peace and much more dedicated to the sense of brotherhood for all people. I hope and pray that you have a good Shabbos, and perhaps you can all practice some kind of deed of loving kindness. In fact, I'll offer a couple of suggestions. With the upcoming Thanksgiving season, we are trying to ask people and encourage people to provide donations for our Feed the Community with Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church. It will be different this year. It will not be in person. People can come by to the church and pick up food platters already put together, but we need donations of food. Also, your kind donations of unwrapped toys will be helpful for JAFCO as we approach the holiday season, and also for our work with the Town Center Mall in Give Back Christmas Feast. So friends, donations of food, donations of toys would be a great kindness you can do for our society, our community, and just a way to show that indeed the world is sustained by three things: by Torah, by service to God, and by deeds of great loving kindness. Shabbat Shalom. I hope you all have a wonderful, peaceful, and kind Shabbat.